Don't do these 5 things if you want to join your church's band. Hey friends,
Say my name.
Sebastian here. I want to do something a little bit different this week, and I want to talk about 5 things that you should be considering if you want to join your church's worship band, church band, whatever you call it in your local church. Basically, I want to go through these 5 things, and I want to talk about each point individually, give a little bit of my perspective, and just overall what I think of this. This is by no means going to be like a comprehensive list. If you have anything that you would like to add, go ahead and leave it down below. Number 1, do not isolate. Make community at your church. So I have seen this personally a number of occasions in different churches that I have been a part of. And we have musicians that come in, and this weird thing will happen where they'll want to be part of the band, but they don't really want to make a community. They don't want to make that effort in the community sense. And I'm not talking solely with the members of the church band. I'm talking about the church in general. So you should be making community wherever you are. You shouldn't be going into a church because you want to play there. It's all right if you want to play at the church that you are in. I believe as worshipers, it is our, it's our need, it's our want to worship God and worship the Lord with everything that we're doing. And that's amazing and that's great. But you should never be entering a space with the intent to play there. You shouldn't go to church and be like, oh, I really, really want to play here. So I want to, get on the worship leader's good side or the pastor's good side so they'll put me to play. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen. I've seen it a number of times, and never, ever, ever have I seen someone that enters a church or enters a body of worship with that mentality. If they are put to play, I can guarantee you it'll just be for a short time. More often than not, they're not coming in with the right heart posture. They're not coming in with the right mindset. And more often than not, it's just going to lead to trouble. So really, really avoid this one and check your heart before anything else. Numero dos. Now, do not be late. This is a huge pet peeve of mine. Personally, I really do not like tardiness in studio time, and when people come here to record, or I'm working with different artists, or at church when I'm running sound, my sound team, or when I'm leading worship, the worship team. I personally am not a person that I like being tardy ever, unless there's like some sort of emergency that happened, or, you can be late. Sometimes things can happen. That's understandable, but do not make a habit of coming in late for your service. So we're approaching this from the mindset that you're not currently in the worship group, in the worship band, although this applies to everywhere where you are. But if you are wanting to be part of that worship group, part of that worship band, don't come in right before your service starts and just kind of sit there for the service and then, try to attack your worship leader as soon as he gets off of the pulpit and just kind of talking to him while he's trying to get things done or maybe preparing for a different worship set. Get there early. If the worship service starts at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m., 9 a.m., whenever it starts, get there while they're probably rehearsing or sound check, just to have a quick conversation with the worship leader. Let them know that you're available. This obviously comes after you have made a community in your church, and hopefully you have a little bit of rapport with, with the drummer or the worship leader or the guitar player, whomever, and, get there early, shake some hands, talk to a couple of people, talk to the pastor, and just overall make an effort to be there, make an effort to be present on other moments that are not the main, worship moment where you would be the star or the spotlight would be on you. Make an effort to be outside of those moments. And, and this extends far beyond just a Sunday worship service. If your church hosts Bible study, things like that, get there early, because that is going to demonstrate to everyone around you that you are taking this seriously. You have the correct heart posture, and overall, you're not there just because you want a stage and people to look at you play. Número tres, do not show off. So, I get it. You've been practicing your pentatonic licks for years and years and years. You have your chops all ready to go, and you have those vocal runs nice and clean and crisp, and you got all that range. Great. Amazing. I love it, and you'll definitely use it at one point, but please, humility above everything else. Nobody wants to be next to that guy or that girl that's just, running the scales up and down at 200 BPMs per minute. This is the type of project, the type of band, the type of space where humility will be the number one driving factor if you're going to get hired or you're going to get chosen for your worship group. You are not here so the spotlight can be on you. The spotlight should be at all times on Jesus, on God. That is who we are worshiping, and that is who they want to see you worshiping. That is why you're auditioning. They're auditioning your heart. They're looking at your talent. That's great, but they're more auditioning your heart. And if that's not in the right place, that's going to give you a lot of issues. That segues perfectly into number 4, and that is do not expect anything. So you were at the rehearsal, you made community, you were able to audition and everything, and maybe you didn't hear back from anyone in a little while, or maybe they even said, hey, maybe it's not the right time. Be humble enough to take that no and not do what I've seen a lot of people do, where they do not take that rejection very lightly, and they sometimes end up leaving the church or trying to start their own different worship project just to spite the worship leader, things like that. Again, all this is going to do is demonstrate the true posture of your heart, and not being able to be humble enough to take that no, or maybe take that criticism. They might say like, hey, it's great that you want to join here, but maybe you need a little bit more technical level. You're maybe not performing to the standard that we have established here in this body of worship. And we can talk about that on a separate video. How technical do you have to be in a worship band? But if they give you some feedback of like, hey, we've maybe noticed these things and these don't align to the message that we're preaching. Maybe you need to work on your technical skill. So, don't expect anything. Don't go in there expecting to be chosen. Don't go in there expecting to be, the world is your oyster and they have to give you everything that you want because, you've dreamt about this for X amount of time. So don't expect everything. Again, humility is the number one thing that everyone is looking for. And number 5, and I have actually seen my fair share of this over the years, and do not make demands. Please. It is not about you. It's about Jesus. It's about God. It's always about God. It's who it'll always be about. And I see this a lot of the times sometimes in my current church, at past churches, at special events that I've served at, and just people coming in making all these demands when there is a group of people and we're trying to reach a consensus with this group of people. Like, let's say, for example, a rehearsal time. A lot of times I've seen people where they're like, I can't make such and so rehearsal time, so we can't have rehearsal that day. I don't like this song. I don't like that tempo. We need to put this other song. I don't like the lyrics here. Like, I don't. And if you notice, that all starts with one letter, I, or me. It's all coming from the inside. Like I mentioned, this is not about you. This is about your church. This is about the worship group. This is about God. This is about being humble. This is about being able to adore a living God, and a God that is all about love. It's about respect. These are the things that the Bible teaches us that we should be like. So if you're going to approach being in that band, and let's say you are in that band already or outside, again, this can apply either which way. I've said this like 100 times in this video. Be humble. It's not about you. Make sure that you understand that there's an entire group of people and they're going to have their specific reason for doing it a certain way in that church. And while I don't necessarily think that bringing change into a church and bringing new ideas is a bad thing, but if they have a set structure already, I would invite you to kind of just have a sit down and think, who are you to come to change that? Now, if you're new to this church and you just came a couple weeks or a couple months ago, don't come in here trying to make a bunch of demands and, we need to change it like this because we did it that way in my church or my old church. And I know such and so pastor that does it this way. That church has their way of doing it and their way of thinking and things like that. So just be mindful of that and, don't come in just making a bunch of demands because nobody's going to like that. All right. So that is the 5 things that you should not be doing if you're wanting to join your church's worship group, band, again, whatever you call it in your particular context. These are the things that I have noticed based off of personal experience. I've definitely been guilty of them at one point or multiple points in the past. So if you felt identified with anything like this, there's no shame in it. You can only grow. Just be humble enough to take the advice and, just grow and be a better worshiper, a better person serving in your church. If you have other things that you think that I missed, if there's another thing that you wanted to add to this list, go ahead and drop it down below. If you have any video suggestions, again, happy to read those and take those into consideration. But that's going to do it for me. See you next time.